Okay, so let's start. So in this session, we are going to discuss signal. From Angular 17, we have this. It's still in the development mode only. It's not fully functional, but with the latest version, we will have it. And why do we need to be aware about the signal as in like two-way data binding, right? So whatever we know, the major advantage what we have in Angular compared to other frameworks, so that is going to change completely. Whatever we know, that is going to change completely when Signal is going to be fully in the proper production mode. Okay. For Signal, we can consider it is just a replacement of RxJS. Whatever we used to do with RxJS, right? So first of all, like when we talk about RxJS, it's like asynchronous code. Whenever we have to write asynchronous code, or so many features are also there: subject behavior. Then what are the operators we have? Whatever we used to do with Signal, that kind of thing we can do with Signal also. Another behavior is like Signal doesn't require zone.js. So now zone.js, where does it come in picture? So whenever we change any variable value, that variable value, if we have printed it any in the template, that get reflected automatically. So how that value get reflected automatically? Because of zone.js. Zone.js is the library which take care of the change detection. Okay. So whenever any variable value got changed, it will reflect, it will re-render that part of the template and new value will be getting displayed. But if you use the Signal, you don't have to again depend on the zone.js. So Angular team certainly is going to remove zone.js in some next versions, because ultimately zone.js will have some performance issue. So day by day, Angular team is releasing new versions. They are morely focused on the increasing the speed of the application. They are trying to get rid of the unnecessary things. You might have also seen with every new version we have, they are, let me cancel it. They are creating architecture like whatever you need to use, you import that in that particular component. Don't disturb the whole project. So that's why overall project memory optimization will be very less. Okay. So now let's start. First, we will see like how do we create the signal. Then we will discuss what are the use cases, in which scenario we have to use signal. Okay. So first, let's create a first name variable. So this is just a normal variable, but here I'm assigning a value of signal. So from where signal will come? From Angular core library only. Then you can signal, it's like what we can say in just like a property or something. Okay. So you need to initialize some value also, just like how you used to create a subject or subject behavior. When we have to create the subject behavior, we have to initialize that also, just like that consider. So this is how we create the basic signal. Now, those who have not gone through any video till yet, like what is signal, those who are really very unknown to the signal, just consider like this is just a normal variable, but data we are going to store it some kind of a what we can say reactive data we are storing into this variable. Okay. Now let's create the constructor. Now we are creating a variable, but this variable is nothing but a signal. Let's say while initializing this, you need to initialize this signal with some value. So you can provide the value over here also, like this. Just how we used to create the variable. Now this signal value I can print in my HTML template. Let's get a, let me just create a table tr. Okay. In this tr. Now this is how we normally use to print the value. Okay. But first name is nothing but a signal. So how do we read the signal? As a method. This is how we this is how we read the signal value. This is how we create the signal, and this is how we read the signal value. So let's just save. First name does not exist. Why it is saying does not exist? Yeah. Okay. So here you can see Angular is printed. So this value came from our signal. So this is very basic initialization. How do we create the signal? Okay. Now just like in the while declaring variable also we can provide the data type. Just like that, while creating signal also we can specify the data type, like what kind of data this particular signal is going to hold. Let's say roll number is equal to signal. Now here I have to use the capital one. String. Why it is giving error? Signal. S only should be capital. Why it is saying signal? Spelling mistake. Now it's still giving a signal only refers to the type, but it is being used as a value. I forgot that. Let me just check. Signal. Okay, after that. So I'm also new because these things are like unless you use it regularly, you don't get hands-on. So after signal, the data type and then value. So again, like when we used to normally create the variable, if we provide the string, so it will only hold the string value just like that. You will get the error. But if we provide some value over here like that, so you can see it is allowing us to create the signal. Okay. So this is the normal signal. We didn't specify like what data type we are going to store in this signal. This is the signal we have created. Let's create it with number. Let's initialize it 1, 2, 3. Okay. So this is the signal with specific data type also. Now let's try to print this also. So in interpolation, we have done like this. Now let's say we have a text box input. As I initially told you, like the signal, just consider it as a variable. Okay, but that variable is just reactive, right? Now let's say I need to bind this value, the signal value into my text box. So there are two ways. First, we will use the property binding that will be with value. And again, to access the signal, we have to call it as a method like this. So let's say when check if we are able to see the value stored in that signal. You can see it is getting stored, it is getting displayed over here, right? Now, same thing if you have to bind this with ng model. Okay. If we have to bind the signal with ng model, those who have bind the, what do we say, observable to any using ng model, though those who might know this, whatever the code we might be, we are going to write, that will be familiar to them. So forms module, why it is not suggesting forms module, forms. Okay. Then forms module, we have to import it over here. I will create one more TD, and inside the TD, instead of value, now I have to bind with ng model equal to roll number. Okay. So see, now ng model, how ng model used to work, ng model needs a proper value, normal value. It doesn't require a, what do we say, reactive value. Okay. So now you need to get rid of this round bracket. It is like property binding. Okay. So let's try to save. So you can see how we used to do the variable binding by using ng model, that if you have the those who have created the observable, let's say I need to create an observable, let's say uh, demo name colon observable, data type of string. What happened? String. How do we create observable? We have created of, I'm just showing you how we used to do this. So we have created an observable, that is the observable name is demo. Now let's say you have a requirement where you are getting a value from somewhere and that you are going to store in an observable, and that observable you need to bind to the text box. Whenever that value get changed, or if you change the variable value, that gets again triggered to the observable. Okay. Just like with normal variable, how we used to do, if you have to do the same thing with observable, we used to do like this. Whatever I have shown you in the signal now. So this we used to attach over here, but if we have to use observable into HTML, we can use it by using async pipe only, correct? Async pipe we need to add. Since Angular 17, everything we have to import. Why it's not suggesting async? S, Y, and C. It's not suggesting async pipe. Date pipe. Anyone knows from which import statement we get the async pipe? Or from pipes it will be. Pipe is also not there. Anyone know how, from which import do we get the pipes? Common module, no. No. So see, in Angular 17, whatever pipe you need to use now, you need to import that. So I'm trying to, it's not suggesting actually, but I don't remember the import of that from where that async pipe came. Okay, so anyway, so if we have to bind any observable to the text box, we used to do like this. So same way, we have to do like this now in case of signal. Okay, now let's get back to the signal first. So we have created signal. That signal we have bind to our text box also. Now, just like a variable, how do we use to change the variable value? So let's say, let's create a method td. Let's create a button over here. Change name. And on this button click, we will try to change the value of that signal. So click change name, round bracket. Yogesh, don't use anything now. Okay. So what we have to do on this button click, we have to change the signal value of this first name. So to change the value of the signal, again, there are some, again, we are talking about primitive data type. So there are two ways how we change the value of the signal. First, we are talking about primitive data type like string, number, boolean. Okay. So this dot first name dot set method is there. So set method is there, which allows us to change the signal value. Set, let's say initially we have said Angular, then we will assign React. So here you can see Angular is by default, because by default, once we initialize, we had stored Angular. Now, if I click on change value, you can see React is there. So if we have created a signal which is storing primitive data type, just a string, number, boolean, and date. So you can make use of the set method. Okay. Now, so this is very basic way to create the signal. Now, there is another way, what we call as a computed. So computed is something like you can consider like you have a variable and that variable. Deepak, please unmute. Okay, so consider a normal scenario. Like let's say you have a variable, but that variable value should be automatically calculated based on certain different variable. Getting it? What I'm trying to say is I need to create a variable, but that variable value will be depend on the certain number of variable. Let's say full name. Okay. Let's say full name is there, but the full name will automatically generate if, let's say, first name, okay, first name we have already declared. Let's use f name, m name, and l name. Okay, so use case is this variable value should be automatically generated with the combination of these three variable value. Whenever any of this value get changed from your overall component, let's say you are changing the values from the text box or on button click, it doesn't matter. From anywhere this variable value got changed, the full name should be automatically auto generated. So if we don't know the signal, if we have to do the same thing, whenever we change the variable value, there again we will generate the full name. This is how we would do it, right? But in signal, we have something that is computed. Okay. So we have something that is computed. So how computed works, let me just first write it. So now instead of this with normal variable, we will create it as a signal. So these are not normal variable. Now we are converting that to the signal. Okay. Now here also, now in full name is not a normal signal. Okay. Normal signal as mean these are the writable signal. Writable signal as in signal value which we can directly means the signal which value you can directly change by using the set method. Okay. Now there is another way, that is computed signal. So computed signal is like you cannot directly change the value of the computed signal. It needs to be changed by another signals. Means based on the calculation, whatever we will have, based on that, that signal value will get changed. Now how do we create it? So full name is going to be our computed. So computed. Okay, so it will again come from core only. Round bracket, just an arrow function. Now, here, this full value is going to be generated from these three signals. Means whenever these three signal value get changed, full name will automatically again update. So logic will be, let's say this dot f name. It's a signal, so we have to use as a method. Then plus, let's add a space. Then plus this dot middle name plus space plus this dot last name. Okay. So now the value of this signal will depend if any of this value, if any of these three signal value get changed, this will automatically get again computed. Okay. So let's see the example now. So now we have three signals. So let's create another. Let's create three text box. And on three text box, we will change the value of these three signals. F name will go over here. Middle name. Last name. Now we have to bind it with ng model because from this text box value change, we are going to use the method ng model change. Because on this text box value change, this is just a one-way binding. If we bind the, if we create it with the value, this is one-way binding. It is not going to change the signal value, right? Now, here, this is like ng model. So we already know there is a function which will get, if any, if this text box value get changed, we have a method that is ng model change, which will only work if that text box is connected with ng model directive. So that is ng model change. Okay. So change f name. This is a function I'm creating. And here I will pass $event. So whatever the value we have in this text box, that we will pass. Just like that, I will create two more functions. Middle name and last name. Let's create these functions now. Value, data type string. Those who have used RxJS in this like way, they might be familiar. But if you have not used RxJS in this way, so you might find it very difficult to understand like what is happening. because signal is just how RxJS works, just like that. On that same scenario, signal works. Okay. Now, on respective three text box value change, we are calling the function. Okay. And now in this function, we have to just change the respective value. So in change first name, this dot f name dot set, and whatever the value we get, that we will pass it over here. Let's copy, paste f name, then middle name, m name, last was l name. So what we have done, we have created three signal. On three text box, we are respectively calling functions to change the signal value. Okay. So let's just check it. And this full name, I will print it. After this, let's add a BR tag. Again, it's a signal. So we have to make it, use it as a method. So now just pay attention. Okay. So currently, let me just print it. So currently we don't have anything here. Let's now, if we try to provide the values, let's say A. See, we have got A, B, C. So you can see this computed signal is automatically, again, it's like a, this just the normal English word computed. So it is actually computing the value if any of the signal we have said over here while calculating here, whatever the signal we have specified over here, if any of the signal value get changed, again this signal value will get automatically computed again. Got it? So if we have to do this kind of scenario without using signal, so it will be very hard. Whenever we are changing the variable value, we have to write this code again and again, or at least we will keep this in a function and we will call that function that many times. But in signal, we have this computed way by which this signal value will depend on the value of this signal hold. Got it? So this is something, what we can say, if you have worked on a project like this now, so you might find it very helpful, because there are multiple scenarios we have where we have to do, where we have scenarios like this where we need to compute, where we need to, where we have some value, that value need to be automatically updated after certain number of conditions. So in this kind of scenario, you can use the computed. Okay, so anyone has doubt till now? Again, then we will move ahead. This is very basic. We have just seen the basic signal creation and the computed. And how do we access the signal? And how do we change the value of the signal? Yeah, you can unmute now if anyone has any doubt. Yeah, so we can obviously share the signal value, but from one component to another, it is like just whatever we know by using input, output, just like that, we can share the value. It is behaving like a session variable, yes. So signal is mainly, if you see the Google Angular team definition, it is just to maintain the state. Okay, so whatever we heard like state management. So signal is like it is maintaining the state of the signal. Okay, it's like a session variable, then you can consider. Everyone clear till now? Now, at this point, we won't be sure like why do we need it and what is the actual use case. Okay, now we will try to do a little bit change now. So change detection, we are making it false now. So change detection strategy dot on push. Okay. So see, now this component, what I'm doing, I'm just disabling the chain detection. This is how you disable the chain detection. Okay. Now, what I will do, yeah, on this button click, let's create a normal function also, normal variable. So see, this is how you disable the chain detection. Okay. Now I'm creating a normal variable, course name is equal to .NET. Okay. So what I have done, I have created a normal variable. Now this variable, I will print in my one of the TD. Let's get it over here. Here I have printed the normal variable. Beside this variable, I will create a button. And on this button click, I will call a function change course. Let's create this function. Now, see, this is a normal variable, right? Now in this function, what we are going to do, we are just going to change the variable value. So this dot course name is equal to React JS. Okay. And this value we have printed it over here also. So let's save and check. Remember, we have disabled the change detection. Where it is, yeah. So here you can see .NET is there because while initializing the variable value, we have said .NET. Now, if we click on the change status, oh, sorry, again, I forgot. So it's because from here, we are actually triggering the event. So UI will automatically re-render. What we need to do in constructor, we will call it as set timeout. And inside that set timeout, we will change the variable value. Every time I forgot this, let's add a 3-second delay. Now inside this variable, we will assign this value. Okay. So see, we have created a variable with default value .NET. And in the constructor, we have added a set timeout. So after 3 seconds, the variable value will change to React.js. Okay. And this same variable, we have printed it over here also. Now see. So currently it's .NET. So after 3 seconds, value got changed, but it is not reflecting over here. Let me show you that also. Its value is getting changed. App component only. So here you can see I'm adding a debugger at line number 35. Let's reload again. So once 3 seconds is done, see, current value of this course name is .NET. So latest value you can see React.js, but it's not getting reflected over here. We have changed the variable value, but it's not getting reflected over here. That's because we have disabled the chain detection. Now, this is in chain detection, we have two ways, on push and the default. So let's make it default. If you don't write it also, by default, it is default only. So now you can see after 3 seconds, value got changed and it is got displayed over here also, right? Let's change it back. So this is how, like, if you disable the chain detection, UI won't automatically check for the latest value. Then we have to force it by CD rep. I also forgot change for. We have to create an service of change detection rep service, and then we have to actually again force the to change to detect the change. We have to force it again. I forgot that. How do we do that now? Okay. So if we disable the chain detection, so the latest value it was not displaying. Okay. Now let's talk about signal. So remember, like with normal variable, if we have disabled the chain detection, even if the variable value got changed, it was not displaying the updated value. Now in the same case with signal, we have to see if we disable the chain detection and if we change the signal value, what it does. Okay. So now over here in the constructor, this dot first name dot set. What is the first name we have said? Angular. And here we will say Angular 17.3. Okay. So see, course name we have initialized .NET. In first name, while initializing, we have said Angular. In set timeout after 3 seconds, let's make it 5. We have changed the normal variable also and the set signal value also. Again, remember chain detection is on push only. So here you can see Angular is there. After 5 seconds, you can see now it has UI has re-rendered. This value also we have got the latest value and this also we have got. So what happened, even though we have disabled the chain detection, So as I earlier said, Signal doesn't require zone.js. Okay. So now, if you know, like when we talk about like, you might have also faced the question, like, how do we optimize our Angular application? So we say so many things like reusable component and everything. So this is also one of the point which we should explain in chain detection. So we have to divide our components in that case, like we are less dependent on the zone.js because zone.js is constantly checking for the memory changes and again events, whatever happening, and it has to update the latest value, right? So whenever we say the best techniques to optimize our Angular application, we have to make all our component with chain detection on push strategy. Means we will only allow chain detection to happen when we want it, because by default is it's always changing the it's always checking for the changes. Okay. Now, so we have disabled the chain detection, but in case of Signal, whenever Signal value get changed, it doesn't need node it doesn't need that zone.js. By default it will check wherever, means wherever, just like consider observable. If we are emitting value, or let's say subject, if you are emitting the value from the subject, wherever you are subscribing, that subscribe get automatically called. Just like this, whenever any signal value get changed, wherever what are the recipient of that signal, means wherever you are using the signal, that will automatically get the new value. So that's why in case of Signal, so see again now. On the page load, we have Angular and .NET over here. After 5 second variable value, signal value got changed, and you can see the new value. That's because in constructor, we have changed the signal value also. Now, if I comment this, I have just keep my normal variable. So it won't, on the page load, .NET is there. After 5 second value is getting changed, but it won't display the new value because change detection is disabled. But once we change the signal value, it doesn't need change detection by default, because this first name we have used over here. So whenever first value signal value got changed, this will automatically get the latest value. It's like subscribing that signal. Whenever that signal will emit the new value, it will subscribe over here, just like async pipe. So that's what I said. Those who know RxJS properly, they will have a friendly hand with signal because it's kind of a related. Okay. Understood, everyone? So this is very basic. Again, like if we have to create an object array, again, there are some scenarios. So I will cover in next session. But till now, like this is very basic. How do we create the signal? How do we assign the value of the signal and the computed one? Understood, everyone? Anyone has any question? Okay. So thanks all then. Tomorrow or day after tomorrow, again, I will try to plan a session. There we will see like how do we deal with object and array in case of signal. Those who knows the React, it is just like state management. If you anyone of you know the React, how we do the state management with use state, just like that we have the signal. Just I'm telling this in the last because in React there is a similar whatever we are able to do with signal. Just like that over there we have use state. That's a hook that we use to manage the state. Okay. So those who knows React or familiar with, they will find it very similar with the React.js. So tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we will see the next thing. Like we will try to create a to-do application with by using Signal. That will be more like a practical way how we use the Signal. Okay. Anyone has any question? Otherwise, we can stop. Yeah, obviously, NGRX is something else. NGRX, obviously, see, Signal is like Signal is the replacement of RxJS. So if we learn the RxJS, we also have to learn the NGRX also, na? Because NGRX is like maintaining state all across the application. Signal is like you are maintaining it in the component or in a, if you create the signal in the service. Okay. So whatever you used to do with RxJS, something like that you are using it in something like that you will get it by Signal. Okay. But same thing, NGRX is like maintaining state across the application. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else has any question? Yeah, Vishal, I will put it in the YouTube. Okay. Thanks all. Thanks for joining.